Hello everyone, thank you for joining our webinar today. We will start today's session in just a few minutes. We are waiting for people to connect. Oh, so we have Paris, Melbourne, Germany, Athens, Yassas to our Greeks viewers, Switzerland, Ireland, Iceland, Malta, Prague, Amsterdam, Lisboa, Jakarta, so people from Asia as well. So interesting. So quite the international and diverse audience today. Thank you so much for connecting, guys. So let me present myself first. My name is Anaït. I am in charge of product marketing at The Edge, and I am thrilled to be your host today. Thank you again for joining us from all around the world. We are very excited to start this series of webinars with such an interesting topic and with such a broad audience. So in today's webinar, we hope to give you more insights on wholesalers. We all know this player of distribution, but how well do we know them really? To tackle this topic, I am thrilled to introduce our speakers, Alexandra Ken from The Edge and Kate Mopel from Hotel Beds. A bit more on them. Alexandra joined The Edge in May 2019 as VP Account Management for French-speaking countries. With her team of account managers, she supports our clients daily in the management of our solutions. She knows our clients very well as she was once in their shoes as Director of Revenue at Best Western France after a few years working at Booking.com and Paris Inn. As for Kate, she is Regional Manager at Hotel Beds, currently managing Paris, but previously managed most other areas of Northern Europe. Kate is also an expert of travel and hospitality, as she has been in the travel business for 22 years, and 16 of which in hotel contracting. So on the agenda for today's webinar, we will focus on wholesalers, as the title says, with the perspective of one of the leaders of the market, Hotel Beds. Kate will explain how they work, their business models, and how hoteliers can improve their revenue with this channel. Following with Alexandra, that will give tips and recommendations to you all on how to navigate all the different players of the industry and stay on top of it all. Lastly, we will finish the webinar with a Q&A session, so do not hesitate to write down questions during the webinar in the questions tab. We will do our best to address them at the end. So, we are dying to get into it. So I will now let Kate from Hotel Beds take over and tell you all about wholesalers. Just give us a few seconds as Kate will now connect.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Anaït, for the introduction, and thank you for the team at The Edge for allowing Hotel Beds to come and represent the wholesale segment. And of course, thank you for phoning in and coming to this presentation, especially in Jakarta. I guess it's kind of late in the evening there now, so thanks very much for your time. So we think it's an important thing to talk about wholesale because it's a very traditional way of working. And you know, over the last 5 years, independent hotel sales through wholesalers has grown by over 100%. So this distribution channel is still growing, and it's growing pretty fast. And we wanted to talk you through how well you know us, how you can do better with us as a segment. So there are over 600,000 hotels worldwide, globally, obviously, and there are 10 brands that account for 13% of all global revenues, which means there's 480 billion TTV turnover, which is 6 billion room nights. And it's a very, very fragmented market space. Of course, in an ideal world, you would get all of your business directly. It's the cheapest, and there's a lot of benefits for getting directly. But occasionally, you do need a little bit of help to fill some of those rooms that you have. So of course, there's some very valid and very valuable models out there. So there's the leading OTAs, there's travel agencies, there's a lot of different companies you can work with. But one of the companies or one of the segments you might consider is bed banks. And so bed banks really represent kind of an incremental business model. So it's about getting you business that's maybe a bit harder to reach yourself. And this is where we're going to talk you through what the entire value is of working with the wholesale segment. So there's 409 billion turnover, excluding China in 2018 into hotels. So 205 billion is direct, and 86 billion is from bed banks. 36 billion is from our type of bed bank, so it's from FIT providers, group providers, and it's quite an important segment still. So 15% of that entire segment is represented by hotel beds. So there's definitely a big player, and certainly there's a lot of value that you can extract from this type of volumes that we have. So many of you might know already that Hotel Beds, the Spanish-based company, was bought by Cinven in September 16. They then bought Torico Holidays and they bought GTA. So we've gone through a very, very complicated integration process. So the past year has been pretty complicated. We've chosen to use the Hotel Beds platform Atlas. So for hotels, we use Maxi Rooms, which is our extranet. But we spent the last year aligning all of our commercials and transferring all of our hotel product and content over to the Atlas platform. So the Torico Holidays platform is almost turned off. There's some clients that are still unique, and we have them still live. And the GTA platform is in the process of being switched off. So going forward, working with hotel beds, you will only be working with one platform, which is the Atlas or Maxi Room platform. So a bit about hotel beds in general. We've got 5,000 employees globally, 60 offices worldwide, 6 billion turnover. We're a massive employer in the island of Mallorca with 1,650 people based there. And our executive chairman and managing director, Joan Villac and Carlos Munoz, are both based in our head office in Palma. So we sell about 50 million room nights each year, and we claim to be the leading business-to-business bed bank. So between us and the next player, there's quite a significant delta. So just a little bit more about where we do our business. We've got 7% of our sales going into the Middle East and Africa, 31% going into Americas, 17% going into APAC, and 45% into Europe. On the right-hand side of this slide, you can see our top markets. So Orlando is number one, then Paris. So my challenge is to make Paris number one, and I will get there. I'm competitive. Then there's New York, Dubai, London, Bangkok, Rome, Las Vegas, Istanbul, and Barcelona. But the good thing about Hotel Beds, it's not only these major blockbuster cities that we work with, we've got hotel product across the globe in small places, and we're really offering our travel agents absolute value because we're a one-stop shop. So we work with 180,000 hotels worldwide, 24,000 transfer partners, 18,000 activity providers, and 500 car rental partners. So this really is, the only thing we don't do is flights. So we really are an end-to-end product for our travel agencies. We want them to come onto our website or come into our systems and book various component parts of different people's holidays. We separate ourselves into retail and wholesale sales. So wholesale is much more about technology. It's about having the fastest response rate, the cheapest price, and the best or the rooms available. Retail is a bit more traditional. It's where people actually go into travel agents, and the travel agent turns a screen, and we can actually directionally sell a product. So this is our Beds Online platform. I think it's fair to say that we can't really talk about wholesale without talking about the elephant in the room, and I'm sure that many of you know what this is. It's the distribution of hotel content. So we have to acknowledge that it's a jungle. So distribution, or the way that hotels rooms are distributed, is a jungle. But it is a mutually kind of challenging jungle. It's not just a hotel wholesale issue. It's an issue where, for even some of the OTAs that struggle with how to control distribution, and also hotels, you have a responsibility to make sure that you're controlling distribution from your end. I guess this is some of these logos resonate with some of you, so from past and present. But these are some of the distribution challenges, let's say, that we face. And this really is a mutually kind of complex landscape. It isn't only a wholesale problem, it is really just an industry kind of epidemic. So hotel beds, we understand that this is a challenge for some hotels. It's definitely not a challenge for all hotels, and we have many hotels that actually, quite frankly, don't mind how we distribute rooms. But the key thing is that we recognize that for some hotels, this is a very sensitive topic, and we've addressed these issues. We also feel we're big enough to influence the distribution landscape and bring some tangible change. And we're priding ourselves on being the most responsible in terms of distribution. So we're not perfect, and this we will say very, very openly, but we're very open to listening to our hotel partners and finding mutually beneficial solutions. We've already taken some pretty concrete actions, and this has been an ongoing process because obviously now we're Torico and Hotel Beds and GTA came together. We've had to reclassify a lot of our clients to make sure that they're set up correctly, and that if somebody is going to sell online, we need to know about it so we can put appropriate markups and segmentation in place. We've also got a team that does test bookings for us. So I receive quite a few test bookings from hotels, but also we do test bookings, and we rate shop ourselves, but also our competitors. So if a hotel complains about distribution, and we need to make sure that we will take the right actions, but we need to make sure that it's a level playing field. And this is where our team comes in, and they do some test bookings just to make sure that nobody else is selling online. We've also taken some pretty severe actions to our clients. So some of our clients have been disconnected because they weren't able to adhere to our distribution principles. But also we've put penalty clauses on our contracts with some of our clients, and we've enforced them if they're not respecting the rules. And I think a key thing to note here is that it's not really the end OTA that's the main challenge. Of course, in some instances it is. But there's a lot of middlemen that are between us and that end OTA, and we call them resellers. So we've proactively stopped working with as many resellers that aren't able to control their distribution to align with hotel strategies. So this is a really important part. It's not only about the end OTA or the end website, it is about the resellers in between, and we are controlling those. So it is really, as I said, a complex issue. There's not one silver bullet, so there's not one size fits all solution. We partner with our hotels, we listen to what the challenges are, and we do a lot of remedial action to fix those problems, but we're also doing a lot of proactive approaches to kind of make sure these problems don't arise at the beginning. I guess the one thing really here is that there's a lot of kind of opinion that the FIT rates are the sole problem for distribution, and that's quite frankly not right. I sat in a hotel not that long ago in Paris. A hotel was complaining about distribution. I went online myself and booked the room, and I found a very surprising voucher that came back, and it wasn't from wholesale. It was a package rate from one of the larger OTAs. So as I said, it's a very complex issue, and I know that every segment is trying to control this. Hotels are also trying to control it from their end. So I think we have to partner well to make sure that we're not doing anything that upsets you, and vice versa. So Hotel Beds itself, we work with 60,000 travel distributors. 40% of our bookings are for at least 6 days, and 60% of our business comes from international markets. Our lead time is on average 55 days, and feedback from our hotel partners say that we do 2 times more average in-house spend from our clients, mostly because of demographic, where they've traveled from, and so on. So we've talked a bit about the distribution piece and maybe the stuff that hotels don't love quite as much. But I think what's really important to say is that HotelBeds is really focusing on 4 strategic pillars to drive value to our hotel partners. So the first thing we're really focusing on is our tour operator, our friends at tour operators. So we work with 3,500 tour operators, large and small, global. I'm actually sitting in one of our tour operators' offices now, just outside of Zurich, trying to enhance the conversion of Chinese business into Paris. So again, we take a very proactive approach in terms of sourcing, so hotel purchasing, going out to meet our tour operator clients to make sure that they're selling the right product. The next pillar that we're really focusing on is strategic airlines with partnering with them to do their package programs. So somebody who goes on to EasyJet holidays, they can book a hotel and flight package. They can do add-ons, so car rental and so on. And the product behind that comes from HotelBeds. So there's some really big names out there. We're proactively expanding this network, and there's a lot of good stuff to be done. Actually, this part of our business is really where having allocation in place is really important. So if Singapore Airlines says all of a sudden they're going to do an extra flight route to Rome each day, we would like some guaranteed inventory from you to be able to sell some extra seats through you guys. Then we would go to the hotels where we've got either a fixed guarantee contract or we've definitely got guaranteed allotment in place. Travel agencies, we work with 50,000 travel agents globally. This is a very highly fragmented business. Not all of them work for big groups down at the bottom. Some of them, particularly in the States, are independent travel agents. So this is really where the value of working with wholesale, or particularly with HotelBeds, is, because we're able to reach these travel agents that perhaps you wouldn't be able to reach yourself. Again, travel agents is a very, very traditional model. It is somebody going into a travel agency, the travel agent turning their screen and showing what we have on offer. And 60% of our business from travel agents comes on our static or FIT contracted rates, predominantly because the booking window and the people tend to book in advance when they go to a travel agent. And the final pillar that we're really focusing on is loyalty, employee, and points plans. So this is obviously quite simple. It's air miles or miles and more. These kind of programs where there's people can collect points for flying or can collect loyalty points and convert them into hotel sales. And employee plans or employee benefits programs for something like Chase Bank is the Chase Bank employees maybe get medical cover as a benefit, and they maybe get childcare cover, but they also get a white label to our platform to be able to book personal trips for them and their family. How to get the best from working with HotelBeds and wholesalers? Now, first of all, we talk a lot about rate mix in HotelBeds, and I guess other wholesalers talk about the same. The key thing is there's different ways that we can work with you and we can adapt our kind of offering around your strategy. Remember that FIT or static rates are still key to our business. They represent 60–70% of our business globally. And this is where it's traditional net rates negotiated yearly with an allocation backing up those rates. We also work with dynamic bar contracts. So obviously that's why we're with The Edge. We partner well with these guys, and this is about you feeding us a bar rate and with an agreed discount, and us distributing those rooms. But even within both of those models, it's really important to offer different kind of offerings, because not everybody that travels has different requirements. So non-refundable rates is a particularly big big rate plan that we sell quite a lot of. Opaque rates or package rates. This is very interesting for the airline business, you know, and being able to offer both bed and breakfast and Romani, or bed and breakfast Romani and half board, or whatever it is. Being able to give different offerings to our clients is key. So if a hotel sets their rate strategy correctly with us, we believe that they'll get 25% more revenue overall from us. And on aggregate, the ADR will be 15% higher than just doing one of the models. We also have another very specific contract. This is specific for hotel beds. It's our strategic partnerships. So these are our contracts which effectively are guaranteed contracts. So a guaranteed amount of production. If we sell the rooms or we don't sell the rooms, we still pay. We don't have many of these deals in place, 5% in any destination. I look after Paris. So in Paris, we have 30 of these deals across the city. And these 30 deals are actually the drivers of the biggest revenue across the city. So these 30 deals influence our performance into the city. So if there's any hotels out there that would like to work on a committed level where you get absolute focus, then certainly reach out to your contract manager or your market manager. From us, from me, that's it. Thanks very much for your time, and I look forward to receiving some questions at the end of this.
Yes, thank you so much, Kate, for such interesting insights on wholesalers and about hotel beds. We actually received quite a few questions from our audience. We'll tackle them at the end. Please, if you have any questions during our presentation, or maybe you are wondering to get more answers on wholesalers, please ask your questions in the questions tab. If we can answer them all according to the time, we will. If not, we'll do our best to get back to you privately after the webinar. So now we will continue with Alexandra, that will give us her tips as a seasoned expert on the industry, on how to manage this jungle, as you said, Kate, quite rightfully. So please, Alexandra, take it away.
Bonjour from Paris. It's a pleasure for me to be on this webinar. So this is a first for me. As Kate explained before, wholesalers are key players of indirect distribution. So maybe some of you listening have attended our digital lab that we organize year-round in many cities across Europe and Asia. So you may be familiar with this figure, but the ones that didn't, here is one of the many results of a survey DH has conducted on distribution in Europe over the course of 5 years. The results we have found on wholesalers clearly show how much they have grown within the last 5 years. For example, in 2018, wholesalers represented 8% of online distribution, but the most interesting information is the exponential growth of the market share within this short period of time, which in comparison to other channels is pretty important and no one to skip on. So that goes to show they are definitely key players to work with. So this is exactly what you explained, Kate. You are key players in the market. It's important to work with you and to work with wholesalers. We received some questions about disparity and parity. So to combat rate disparities coming from OTAs and others, you have to control it. You have to control your distribution. You have to control your parity. Why do you have to do that? The objective beyond that is to protect your direct distribution. So to protect your direct distribution, the first things, as you have an example on the screen about an hotel putting a cheaper rate on their own website, but you have other key players on the board, and they are cheaper than the rate on the website. So the first thing is to have a cheaper rate on your website, to have a better conversion, and to be chosen more often. So it's important to do that. The second thing is to put money on web marketing, on search and on meta search. So if you put money, you'll know if you're in parity or cheaper on your website, and you put money on web marketing, normally you'll be on the top on the link. Kate discussed that before. It's about FIT and fixed rates. Hoteliers are facing more and more disparity on meta search. So most of the time they don't know from where this disparity comes from. Most of the time those disparities are mainly due to open sourcing. So this is Kate explaining that using the word jungle. And open sourcing often are linked to the FIT net rates. So the tips we like to give you, if you can work only on dynamic rates with those players, or if you want to keep FIT rates, be aware that multi-sourcing is there and you have to check your parity often. And Kate also explained that, but you can discuss with the partners because they are open to find a solution. They don't want to lose the contract with you, so they are clearly open to find a solution with you. And this is the slides on the last slides. Kate explained perfectly that. We discussed about the dynamic rates. So dynamic rates are clearly linked to the pricing you choose. So you will, as an hotelier, you will give the final price to those players. In that way, you will manage your full pricing, your full distribution, and your segmentation, which is something we fully looked at as a revenue manager. So in your daily job, it's important to check every day if you're in parity or not, who are the players cutting the parity and so on, and be in contact with them to stop this kind of issue for sure. To manage your distribution channels, you need to be equipped with the right tool. This is a strong foundation is needed to manage your positioning as an hotelier. The best way you can, either from your website and booking engine or from your channel manager. You need strong and most importantly, reliable tools to manage your distribution. We would like to point out specifically in the case of wholesalers, since now the panel of reseller of your rooms is so wide, how a channel manager is your best ally in managing distribution coming from OTAs or from other internet distribution channels. So if you are not equipped with the right tools as a channel manager, that's true that you will find issue, you will have difficulties to check parity. The benefit of a channel manager for your hotelier. So you will centralize your data in one dashboard. You will save time and remove manual errors, and you avoid the risk of overbookings in your properties. So if you want to manage your full distribution, it's fully recommended to have a connectivity in place with a channel manager. It's an easy way to manage all your distribution in easy way. Just through an action, you will update rates and inventories through all your channels. And one of the last tips and recommendation we will give you, you need to deep dive into your rate management. So after updating rates and inventories through a channel manager, first you can check that the update is completely integrated by using a tool, which will check that part. So when you are changing your rates and availability, it's important to check that it's clearly and fully updated in the right way. But the best way to be sure you are aligned with the market and your objective is price recommendation tools, which will help you to predict the best rates to sell. The recommendation is to have a tool, but it's always you as an hotelier that will take the decision to change it or not. So a price recommendation solutions, that means to have a clear understanding of your market. You will analyze your competition, you will automate your pricing, and you will examine your pickup.
Okay, thank you so much, Alexandra, for those precious tips. As you saw, dear audience, that Kate gave you quite the insights on the wholesalers, and we, as the Edge specialist of hospitality solutions, we give you our tips on how to manage your distribution on all channels. So after all that we have heard from both of you ladies, we can safely say that there is no denying that if you are not working with wholesalers yet, well, you should be. They are specialized in providing access to a wide range of markets that you might not be able to reach directly. And most importantly, they'll help you generate more business. To make sure hoteliers are winners at the end, and this is what you pointed out, Alexandra, rate management is fundamental. It is important for hoteliers to stay on top of rate management. And for all of it, of course, you have to find the right partners and solutions that will help you navigate the market. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we are now switching to the question and answer parts. So we had quite a lot of questions. One of them, the first one for you, Kate, during your presentation, Aya asked the following question: is it possible to use Hotelbed's platform only to focus to sell our rooms with offline travel agents, due to, as you know, we seem to be facing the distribution issue with online agents? So is it possible to use Hotelbed's platform only to focus on offline travel agents?
So good question. So again, if you want to maximize your potential with Hotelbeds, then you might consider doing the static contracts or the FIT contract with net rates, just for the offline travel agents. So really about this retail, airlines, those kind of core pieces of our business. But then you might want to also add a bar contract on top, so that you can also access some of this online travel agents. So remember that some of these bigger OTAs, they really are like beasts. Some hotels have said to me that some 60%, 70% of their business come through 2 partners, which is quite risky. And you might want to diversify your risk. So some of these smaller OTAs, which are less conventional, and I admit they're less conventional, but they still offer massive value into some key cities. So again, if I was a hotel, I would construct my contracts to make sure that my static rates and those rates that don't vary are protected. But I would add a bar contract on. Effectively, we would track the bar. So if your rate is 100 euros, we would get 100 euros, or 1,000 euros, we'd get 1,000 euros. And in effect, those rates are less risky because we track your bar, and those ones can be open to some of those online travel agents. And then you need to work with your contract manager just to make sure that it's working exactly the way you expect it to work. And for me, the key thing with something like a Hotelbeds or a wholesaler is, yes, technology plays a really important part in our work, but actually relationships with hotels probably count equally as much. So if a hotel, like if you've got a problem in your market, then make sure you're on top of your account handler or your contract manager and working with us to try and find a solution.
Okay, good. We have another question that is really interesting. It's coming from Latvia, from Anastasia. She asks you, how do you see wholesalers' future within 5 years?
So yeah, exactly. It's a great question, and I've been in wholesale for 22 years now, and for many of those 22 years, I heard that wholesale was dead. So if we're asking now, what's the plan for the next 5 years, I can't see anything dramatically changing. Cinven, this Canadian pension fund, invested not only in Hotelbeds, they invested in Hotelbeds, Torico, and GTA. They have a responsibility to their pension holders that they have to make sure that their investment is getting a return. So they obviously believe that there's value in our business, and I would say that the wholesale business is absolutely, the landscape is changing. So we've got a lot of consolidation. We've got Hotelbeds, GTA, and Torico. Then we've got the WebBeds group, which is also consolidating, and all the brands coming under one roof. I think my personal opinion is I think the landscape will change. I think we will continue to see more and more kind of aggregation and consolidation of wholesalers. You might end up with 1, 2, 3 at max at the end of it. But I don't see that wholesale is going anywhere, because remember, our business is very, very different to the OTAs, and our target is very different. And so OTAs aren't necessarily really focused on the stuff we are.
Okay, good that you are talking about OTAs, because we have a question as well about how we can protect our FIT net rates leaking out to OTAs. So this is a question for both of you ladies, Kate and Alexandra. I don't know which one wants to start.
From my side, first you need to check what kind of parity issue you will have. So you need to investigate first, because it's not all the time due to FIT net rates, as Ken explained before. It's most often due to FIT net rates, but okay. I was in an hotel yesterday, and we have a discussion around that. And for this hotel, it's really important to still have FIT net rates in place, because more than 60% of the occupancy comes from this kind of contract and from a wholesaler. So that's true. You need to protect your FIT net rates, and to protect it, you need to be aware of disparity, and you need to also discuss with wholesalers. And I think, Kate, you will receive this kind of discussion often.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the key thing is just to make sure that the structure of your contract is set up correctly. So if you know, by having this rate mix, so by having a static FIT rate and having a bar rate in place, you're getting the best of both worlds. And the key thing to remember is for wholesale, so for hotel beds, static or FIT rates, or those fixed rates, still represent 60-70% of our business globally. So that's a really important part of our business. So don't just walk away from that. Work with your contract manager to make sure that those rates are being distributed responsibly and in the way that you want them to be distributed. And as I said, the bar contract is more of a, you know, more of an opportunity maybe to be able to sell on different channels.
And the other thing is, if you find an OTA cutting their commission, you need to have a very strong discussion with them, because normally in this kind of contract, you're not allowed to do that. So be aware of it, discuss with them, and it's always they will always find a solution. So it's not so black and so white. It's it's in between finally. So.
Yeah, we have this is the last question that we will take, guys. Thank you so much for your questions and for your comments. The last questions come from Jason, and he asks Kate specifically, could you explain a bit in details how does wholesaler decide when to deploy a static or when to deploy a dynamic rate if they have both form of contracting with a particular property or brand? So maybe this is for the both of you ladies.
Yeah,
so do you want to start?
Yeah, perfect. Just from our side, again, if we've got both models running in parallel and both have unrestricted access, the cheapest available price will win, right? So for hotel beds, and I know this isn't the same for some other wholesalers, so you have to be careful and you have to ask the right questions of your wholesaler. But for hotel beds, we don't mix the rates, so we don't do one night static and one night bar. It really is that if something comes through, all of the nights will come through one of those models, right? So in that way, it's kind of a bit simpler. But if you've got both rates running in parallel, both of unrestricted, the cheapest rate will win, the cheapest available rate will ring. But if you construct your contract where your static rates are protected a little bit more in terms of distribution, and your bar is open then to everything, then you're going to see a different mix. But the key thing to remember is that the characteristics of static rates is very, very different to a bar from our perspective. So the static rates are usually the rooms that sell first if you've set your rates correctly. They come from long haul markets. They have longer booking windows. They have longer lengths of stay. And typically we do a lot of upgraded rooms on the static business. So it's important to make sure that you've got those upgraded rooms there. And the dynamic piece of our business is slightly different. So the booking windows are a bit shorter. That's because we've already sold our static rates up front because you've set the contract correctly. The ADR is typically higher on a bar rate, so because we're booking closer to the arrival date. The markets are different. So the long haul markets typically book those static rates, and the kind of more local markets. So in Europe, it would be more Europeans or, you know, maybe Middle East or what have you that might book those dynamic rates. So something like an Australian market will typically book a static rate for us just because they're already looking 1 year in advance to make those bookings. So really, for me, the most optimal way to work with us is to have both contracts running side by side and having a conversation about how you would like this business to come, but making sure that your static rates are very competitive far out is key, because that means we're selling that inventory first, and then you can yield a higher rate closer to the arrival date on your bar contract.
We receive many questions, so we can't answer all of it. So what we're going to do is to answer in private with Kate.
With Kate, I will send to Kate and Alexandra all the questions you guys have asked us, and thank you so much for your input. This is it for us. For your comments, questions, and inputs, again, thank you. If we didn't answer, as you said, your questions, we have them all written down, and we will do our best to get back to you on those. Thanks again, Alexandra and Kate, for your inputs and for your insights on wholesalers. And to you all, I wish you an incredible end of the week, and stay tuned on our social media or via email for our next webinar. So bye-bye, everyone.